Hi, Democrats. Today is Tuesday, October 4th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Tuesday. So it's Tuesday. So here we are at another marker. We are five weeks away from Election Day. And there are some counties all over the state. There are some absentee voters who have their ballots on hand already. So GOTV is now. We can't wait till the week before election and think that we're going to all, get it all together. GOTV is now. And so every day I come on and I try to talk to you about some current events, or I try and tell you about a candidate. But I always end with that it is important that you educate yourself about the candidates, that you educate everybody you know, and that you help 10 people make a plan and get out to vote. And then I beg you to pick a candidate or one or two or three candidates to support and to help, because it is really important. It's been important since before April. Our candidates need our help. They need your help. They need someone to drive them around while they're door knocking or drop literature for them. They need people to put out signs because it is yard sign time. They need folks to donate money, make phone calls. They need this help. And they can't do it by themselves. And to put your name on the ballot, is brave, and it is a huge undertaking. And as Democrats, we need to support the Democrats who've done that. And so today I wanted to take a time. Maybe it's my voice that you guys aren't hearing. Maybe I'm not saying it in the right way. So today I decided to invite a couple of people who are volunteering on to help me talk about this topic. So please help me welcome Jay Bridwell from the Oklahoma City Village area, and Claudia Swisher from Norman.
Hi.
Hi there.
Hi. So I invited you both on to talk about volunteerism because I watch you. Even though I'm all the way in Tulsa and you're in Oklahoma City and Norman, I see that you are out there supporting candidates, volunteering for candidates, and doing those things. Talk to me, and this is a free-for-all, so whoever goes first, about why. Tell me what the most important thing for you is. Why are you out there doing this?
Claudia, why don't you go start?
Okay. I started really knocking doors, volunteering, when a former student ran for office. And I suddenly realized it's not just enough to vote or to talk to folks. You have to get out there and do something. And it's Jacob Rosecrans, who ran for state rep in my district. So it was wonderful that he was going to be able to represent me. And that first time he said, I'm going to run. I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to learn, and I'm going to run again. And so I think we learned together about how to do turfs, how to knock doors, what to say. And I learned that I had a message because I knew Jacob. My message was, he's my student, and I've watched him since he was 15 years old. And here's what he was like when he was that age, and here's who he is now. And that hasn't changed. So I knew that part of my power as a volunteer was that I had a message and I believed in my candidate.
Okay. And because you believe in your candidate, it's not hard to get out there, huh?
It's not hard. I feel a real responsibility to talk to people, hi, I'm knocking doors for Jacob today, and just share my story. And I think that's what I try to tell other volunteers as well. Find the reason you're here. Why are you here? I asked a new volunteer that last Saturday, why are you here? Why are you knocking doors on this Saturday? And she had her answer. And I said, there you go. That's what you say when people answer their door.
Awesome. How about you, Jay? What gets you out there volunteering for all the candidates that you're volunteering for?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I ran for office, so I was did things just a little bit different. I decided to run for office and be part of the community, trying to provide solutions to our community. And I had a lot of behind the scenes support, both driving, door knocking, all kinds of different things. So I thought, well, let me go ahead and pivot and start volunteering, because I know how hard it is to get out on the camping trail, and you need as many volunteers as possible.
And so your stories are a little bit different, right? Claudia got involved because she knew Jacob, right? And so she felt a little bit of personal responsibility for somebody she's watched for the last 15 years or so. I don't know how old Jacob is. And yours is you come at it as a former candidate.
Right. Correct.
So I'm going to ask you guys a really easy question. When you show up to volunteer for a candidate, how are you greeted by that candidate? We'll start with you, Jay.
Every one of them are very thankful that I am doing what I'm doing for them. Whether that's door knocking, whether that's driving them, whether that's doing phone banking, postcards, putting up sign, every candidate that I have supported and have helped has just been very thankful and gracious with the fact that they have somebody helping them.
Awesome. And I know Jacob adores you, Claudia, but I'm guessing he's grateful as well.
He is, and he knows I'm kind of the barking dog behind his smiling face, and I can get perhaps a little bit more passionate, but I don't ever put words in his mouth when we're talking. You know, I always talk about how I feel. One person, after he won one of his first races, somebody who was supporting the other candidate called a bunch of us keyboard commandos and said it was just because, you know, we were on Facebook and making a lot of noise. But, you know, Facebook doesn't do it. You've got to be knocking. You've got to talk to folks.
It's as if you watched my live yesterday, because I absolutely said that yesterday. It's not about the likes. It's not about, you know, you can't. Democracy is a contact sport. It is not a spectator sport. We have to get out there and get involved. You have to, you know, it's great to share their social media. And I know that they all are grateful when we share their social media, because we've got to get the word out. But people are more moved when you knock on their door and you, as a real live person, tell them about the candidate that you're trying to encourage them to vote for. Yeah. You know, when you tell them, I had Jacob in high school, and, you know, Jacob was this kind of student, and I watched him in the legislature, and he's a strong advocate for young people. That's easier to believe than a postcard you get in the mail, than a yard sign you drive by. That's easier to believe. And so it is important that we get out there and we are face to face with their voters, right?
We've got to be authentic.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be able to look somebody in the eye and to have that connection with a voter. Many a time, both as a candidate and as canvassing for other candidates, they are more appreciative of you knocking on their door, taking time out of your day to have a conversation with them at the door, rather than just getting a lit or just getting an ad on the television. It's so important to meet them where they're at.
The first person who ever knocked on my door, I don't know, 17 years ago, was somebody who was knocking for someone else. Somebody was knocking for someone else. And I thought, so you're not the one who's running, right? You know, it made me think. So this is a person who believes in this person enough to be out here in the sun, knocking on strangers' doors. And that made it easier for me to be willing to go out and find out more about that candidate. I felt like they had somebody who supported them.
That's such a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Are people grilling you? Are people mean to you at the door?
Jay?
I have been very fortunate, both knocking for others and knocking for myself. I could probably count on one hand the number of mean people. Most people are generally very courteous at the door. They're very kind. They will just sometimes say, thank you very much, and close the door. and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And even as I drive candidates, there's really rare instance where someone is just not nice. So it's not all that, and more often than not, that conversation is with the candidate and not necessarily a volunteer.
Exactly. And when volunteers go out, so often they make sure that the houses that we're knocking are friendly faces
Mm-hmm.
or independents who might be persuadable.
That's right.
So we have a friendly audience to start with. I've had one unpleasant experience, and I just kept trying to focus the conversation back on, I'm here for state representative. I'm not here with national politics. But I carry dog treats and cat treats with me in my backpack. And so I've often, been able to go to a door. Well, no, I had one guy tell me he had no problem with Governor Stitt. And I said, well, I see you have some pups. Let me give your dog some treats. And, thank you very much. And, even try to make it just a little silly, fun experience, even with someone who's representing a person they may not vote for. I'm hoping that maybe the puppy will go, she had a good idea there, and see what we can do. But, as you say, Jay, most people are friendly and courteous, even if they know they're not going to vote for our candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Very seldom do you have somebody be real ugly.
I've knocked a door or two in my time, and I've had someone close the door on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I used him as a mile marker, right? I got to get 20 nice people because that guy was a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that as a, I can't end the day on the jerk. I have to go to the next guy. And it made me feel like the work that I was doing, it sounds crazy, but it made me feel like the work that I was doing made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It made a difference. And that's really honestly why, Claudia and Jay, I wanted you to be here. I want people to hear a voice other than mine expressing the importance of volunteering. And who better to do that than people who are giving up of their free time and going out and volunteering as much as you guys are.
Well,
So first,
I
want to thank you for coming on and just being willing. Didn't ask me a whole lot about the setup, and you just said yes, and I appreciate that. But more importantly, I appreciate the work that you're doing as volunteers.
Well, thank you.
It is important. It is important to the work that we're doing. A better Oklahoma is in our sights, right? We just have to go out and grab it. We have Joy, neck and neck, right? She is neck and neck. And if we all show up, we could actually have a real governor again.
Mm-hmm.
Gina is polls. Kendra has a fighting shot. You live in Norman, Claudia, and so you have Jared and Jacob and Mary,
yeah,
Annie, and so you have a wealth of good Democrats. I know Mary's not on the ballot, but you have a wealth of good Democrats that to represent you. And Jay, you live in Oklahoma City, and you have. But for our whole state, we all have to show up, because the way that we win our state races and our congressional delegation is that we show up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But candidates need help, right? If you're running for state rep, you represent 30,000 souls. It is almost impossible for one person to get to all of the doors that they need to get to in order to reach everybody. They need help. And even if you're not as brave as Claudia and Jay, and you may not be comfortable knocking doors, I am sure that a candidate will be grateful for you to drive them around, right? Because they can get to 3 times as many doors if they're being driven than if they're doing it by themselves. Because I've done turf by myself. I've driven someone, and I've ridden in the car. It is faster when you go in the buddy system. So if you can grab a friend, somebody minivan, someone drive, someone go to the door, you can get to as many doors as possible. We are at 5 weeks out. We need to get to as many doors as possible all over the state. If you're in Stillwater and you're thinking, we just have Trish. Well, you just have Trish, and we need to keep Trish. So get out there and help Trish. If you live way the heck in Muskogee and you're thinking all we have is Naomi and Jimmy and we just don't have that many choices, well, guess what? You have Naomi and Jimmy. Get out there and help them. We've got to expand our map past Oklahoma City and Tulsa and Norman. We've got to expand our map past that, and we got to give all of our candidates as much help as we can give them in this last 5 weeks. We got to run through the tape. The only way that Governor Hoffmeister is a reality is if we all show up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way.
What I've been saying on social media is we can do this if we all do this. If we rely on just a few, our campaign in Norman, we always talk about yard signs don't vote. Yard signs are nice. But find 5, you said 10, I've said 5, find 5 more people we're going to vote and, say, what's your plan? How can I help? Let them find more people. It only works if we all work together.
We all work together, and don't poo-poo the yard sign, because my yard signs in my neighborhood give the other Democrat, I put out one sign. The other Democrat at the end of the street put out one sign and drove by and said, I guess it's just us two. And another sign popped up. It gives the other Democrats in the neighborhood permission to be a proud Democrat.
You bet.
And it makes them feel like maybe their person has a shot if somebody else in the neighborhood is voting for them. So don't poo-poo yard signs. I know it's cool to say yard signs don't vote, and yard signs don't vote, but they give the visibility to the candidates. And I'm going to hang on to that, because I know that right now at the 5-week mark, candidates need help putting out their yard signs. So they need help. And those yard signs give Democrats permission to raise their hand and say they're a Democrat. You give them permission to know that they're not the only one who's going to vote for that Democrat. And it gives you hope when you know you're not the only one. You're not the only one in your neighborhood. You're not the only one in your precinct who's going to vote for that candidate. Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much. I'm going to ask one last question, one last thing. Do you have one thing that you want to say, Claudia, to the would-be volunteers?
Bring a buddy, work together, know that the people, the houses you'll knock at are probably pretty friendly folks. Mm-hmm. Find your story. So that's more than one, but find your story, find your reason. With Joy, I've known that woman for 10 years. I know her values and her heart. With Gina, I've seen that girl in front of an audience, and she can wow the socks off of us, and she has a message. She's got a plan right now that we need. So find your why.
Awesome. Jay?
I have always kind of just been, I was in the military for 24 years. And sometimes it's that one person that's got that skill set that can do it. And I always like to leave that with, if not you, then who?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you both. Thank you both. And that's the big story, guys. We are the they that we're waiting for. We all have to get out there and do the work. And as Claudia said, and as Barbara Cox said, it only works if we all work. It's that simple. It only works if we all work. You can't depend on your neighbor to do it. You can't coast on Claudia's vote. You have to cast your own vote. You have to cast your own vote and take some folks with you, because Oklahoma is a non-voting state. Let's change that narrative. Let's change that narrative. We came in last in voter participation in 2020. We had a record number of people voted. More people voted in Oklahoma than ever had. Wow. But we were still last. Wow. Let's change that. I want to go to the DNC meeting with all the other chairs and not be the chair with the last. So we all need to show up. We all need to show up. Remember who our current elected officials are, and remember why it is that we need to change. Thank you both, you super volunteers. I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate you being willing to come on and inspire other voters. And I'll see the rest of you tomorrow at 4:15. You guys have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.